Welcome back, Gadgeteers. So it's been a few minutes since our last video. I had a little bit of a vacation. I went to South Dakota for a couple weeks and I am back, and I realized, having taken my laptop with me to South Dakota, that it was very useful in the sense that I could basically shoot videos on three different cameras that I had, all with memory cards. And then with my ThinkPad P1, I could go ahead and put the memory card in and download the video straight to the computer, which is great. That's great. And I wanted to point out also, while we're talking, that I have another SSD installed, and I took all the videos that I downloaded, threw them on my EVO 970 drive. So this is a 1 terabyte drive that's separate from the drive where I have Linux installed. So that drive, a little bit different. So what I like to do before I try to do any update is, of course, do a backup. So if you've got something here that you don't want to get deleted or miss, you're definitely going to want to back up your home directory. So this is home mark, and I've backed it up. I'm ready to go. But before I do, I wanted to show you what got me thinking about doing updates and what the issue is. So if I do a DNF update, let's do a sudo DNF update, and we'll put in the password. So I've been remiss doing my updates. Not so cool. 822 packages, 1.8 gigabytes. I'm going to say no for right now. And I think I'm going to run uname-r. And we see here towards the bottom that I'm actually on Fedora Core 32, which normally would be fine. However, Fedora Core 34 just came out, so let's have a look real quick. But I wanted to talk about what's new in Fedora 34 and whether or not you should upgrade. So that's always a big decision. And I do want to say, if you're considering upgrading to Fedora 34 and you haven't done a fresh install with Fedora 33, I do believe you should consider a fresh install. Now, obviously, here I am saying that, and I'm doing an upgrade from Fedora 32 to 34. And the big reason for that, let me just scroll down here. We'll get back to all these, don't worry. The big reason is ButterFS, also known as ButterFS. So it's been the default file system since Fedora 33, and it now has a feature where it does transparent data compression, and supposedly it'll optimize your SSD for maximum storage savings, and the lifespan should be increased. The only thing I don't like when we start talking about data compression is the possibility that it does cause the CPU to work harder. It shouldn't really be a big deal when we talk about SSDs, but it's something you have to consider, so you might want to do some benchmarking in your older Fedora 32, if it was, and Fedora 34. To me, everything's fine on this system, and it works just fine with the older ext4 file system. So I don't have plans right now to do a clean install and install ButterFS. But if I do, I'm going to do it here on the FastGadgets channel. So let's look at a couple of the other things. So Gnome's been upgraded to 4.0. In one of the other articles I was looking at, I kind of chuckle. Here we go. What did we do with Gnome? Well, we put the menu bar here on the bottom because all the other OSs are doing it. I'm not kidding you. You will notice that the dash bar has moved to the bottom of the screen. Another major change to GNOME 40 is virtual desktop spaces are now horizontal, which brings GNOME more in line with most other desktops out there and should thus make getting used to GNOME easier for new users. Why is it such an issue for Linux, any open source package, GNOME in this case, or as it should be called, GNOME, to do something different, to do something innovative, to do something that everybody else isn't doing? You find that what we see very often is first you'll see it on Mac OS, then you'll see it on Microsoft, and then finally Linux follows suit. You know, Linux, go ahead and be first. Whatever distribution you are, go ahead and rock the boat. Be different, really. Anyway, Wayland is going to be the default for KDE Plasma, and I am on KDE, as you can see, and I'm really interested to see what happens because my experience has been I had a problem getting OBS Studio working correctly, but I believe I found a workaround. Well, we're going to find out when we come back, aren't we? Linux kernel goes up to 5.11. So that's a significant change and probably a good thing. All the security fixes that you would expect should be there. Now, this was interesting to me. The audio server was changed to Pipwire. Previously, it was Pulse Audio, which, wow, when I think back, I've used forever and a day. And there have been a few problems here and there. So I'm wondering if Pipwire will cause any problems with OBS Studio or any other application that I might use, Audacity, whatever. We'll see. The transparent compression we talked about, improved security. I would expect that. You would think the security would be improved. We definitely don't want to do an update and get worse security, but they do talk about malware attacks. So you do want to keep up with the updates. And I was remiss here on my Fedora 32 not keeping up with my updates. But I was using the computer the last couple weeks offline. That's no excuse. It's no excuse. But yeah, do your updates. If you don't, eventually you're going to pay, even if you're on Linux, and the chances of having your system compromised are much lower than Windows and Mac OS. So there are other updates, resource management, language support, and upgraded utilities. Can't wait to see those. I'm not being facetious. I actually like the disk utilities. I like both of them, the partition manager and the disk utilities. So disk utilities comes from Gnome. Partition manager comes from KDE. They're both really good tools. So I'm hoping they'll get even better. So the only way to take a closer look at Fedora 34 is to do it. And that's where we're at right now. So let me minimize this. So we have, well, there was a curl error. We'll see what happens if we can do the update. But unfortunately, I have to stop my recording and I have to transfer that file over here to my 970 SSD, which additionally is actually an NTFS partition. So if I had to, I could grab this stuff from Windows as well. Now, I have Windows on this system, by the way, so it's dual boot. So that is why my data partition, the storage partition, is NTFS. So both operating systems can access it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this. I'm going to copy over this file into my data 970 SSD, and we're going to get the installation going, and hopefully we come back up and we are not on a camcorder. So what I'm going to use is a tool from Putorius. Just wanted to let you know, shout out to Putorius.net, upgrade to Fedora 34. It's basically the same upgrade methodology. There's really no difference. The only difference is that we're going to be upgrading to Fedora 34. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump from 32 to 34. The second thing I'm going to do is use the command line to do the upgrade process. And the third thing I'm not going to do is a refresh upgrade. I don't know how wise that is, but it is my personal opinion that although it's good to have the latest kernel and all that stuff, I don't feel that it's necessary. You do a refresh upgrade of your OS, so in my case Fedora 32, you do a reboot and then you download Fedora 34 release version right here. So you're going to download the latest version over what you currently have installed, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And again, I'm not the engineers who created Fedora, so I'm not saying you should follow my recommendations. So I just want to let you know, a shout out to Putorius. I can never remember all the commands, so let's go over here, and first thing I'm going to do is become root. It just makes life easier for me. So I've elevated my privileges to root. Step 2, I chose sudo. They say to upgrade all current Fedora packages. I'm going to skip that. I'm also going to skip reboot, and I'm going to jump right to installing the DNF plugin. So let's grab that. Upgrade all current Fedora packages. We've skipped the reboot. We're going to jump right here. And again, keeping in mind, if I lose what's on this drive, not a huge deal, because except for the video we're shooting now, that would kind of suck. So let's hit enter, and we've got a size of 2.8. Doesn't seem like that much. Oh yeah, it shouldn't be. It's just the tool itself. Okay, so we're going to install that tool, and we're going to jump to the next step, which is to download the Fedora 34 packages for upgrade. So we've just installed the system upgrade package, the program that does the update, and we're going to grab this particular text, and I'll try to hit clear every time I do this if I can remember. That way you're able to see what I'm doing here. So DNF system upgrade download, so it's not going to do an installation. -- refresh -- release version equals 34. Now if I do this, it says once I do refresh upgrade, I'm going to update Fedora. And see that it warns us. Ensure that your system is fully upgraded by running DNF -- refresh upgrade. I haven't done that. So by all means, do not follow what I'm doing. So let's see how big the download is. It's probably going to be considerable, probably 2 or 3 gigabytes. And once that's done, we are going to go to step 6, and we're going to start the actual upgrade. Now, here's what I always tell you. If I'm going to stop, of course, the recording, and if there's an issue, and we hope not, when I run this command, well, I will come back on a camera pointing at my screen. Okay, so there's 400 packages, 2,671 packages to be upgraded, 400 to be installed. Remove 13, skip 1. Total download size 4.1 gigabytes. Is this okay? Sure, why not? So I think my internet is like 150 megabits download. So it's decent, but even so, this is going to take a minute or two. And while I'm waiting, I'll just go back here and let you see. Once we do the DNF system upgrade, it reboots and it basically enters the command line and begins the update process. Welcome back. So as you can see, I'm not rebooted and I am on one of my, well, it's my iPhone, but we're doing a screenshot. So what I'm doing right now is an update of Fedora 32. When I try to finally run the actual upgrade and reboot, the system told me error, system is not ready for upgrade. So I've decided to go ahead and do an update to Fedora 32. I just have a suspicion this is not going to help at all, but it's worth trying. When you do things that are contrary to recommended documentation, you can expect problems. Now, this is the first time I had a problem. I've done upgrades, skipping one, so 32 to 34 and things like that, and not done updates and usually don't have a problem. But that doesn't mean it can't happen. And now the proof's in the pudding. So once this completes, I'm going to reboot. If I have to, when I reboot, of course, I'll come back to the iPhone, if necessary. And I hope it's not. Okay, well, the update didn't work, so I've done a DNF -- refresh upgrade. And we're going to see if that makes it possible, because I do get that error message that says that the system isn't ready for upgrade. So we shall see. Dependencies resolved, nothing to do, complete. Well, I'm going to do a reboot and see what happens. All right, just a quick update. So I needed to disable the TLP repositories. Those are two repositories I use to install tools that help me manage battery life on my laptop here. So I just had to figure out the name of the repositories. One was called TLP and the other was TLP-updates. So I disabled those, and it looks like now I'm going to be able to do the update. There's a lot of packages that were skipped. Those ones that are skipped, though, were packages that were already downloaded. So here we go. Okay, apologies for the heater in the background again. So the system upgrade is underway. It's just getting started. You can see down there it's still 0% complete. And it tells me not to turn off my computer, which I most certainly will not do. However, I can hit the escape key and I can get an idea of what it's doing right now. So it's fairly busy. I'm not even going to guess what it's doing. Let's see if we can get in there and if you can see it. There we go. So on its current step, it says it's going to take a while. Starting system upgrade. Tiny little text on this ThinkPad P1. Everything looks to be going well so far. All right, the upgrade's working away. It's at 99%. See if I can get that to zoom in for you. It's a little better. So, I figured I'd take you along for the ride. Let's see what happens when we do the reboot and whether or not we're successful. Okay, it says 100%. I think it reboots on its own. There's all the packages that have been updated, and there were a lot. All right, it's just done a reboot. The Lenovo screen comes up. Hurrah, hurrah. I'm going to pause there for a minute, see if I can get these kernels in so you can have a look at them. So the top one is kernel 5.11, and you can probably read that better than I can, just an FYI. So I'm struggling to see it right now. But anyway, at the very top should be Fedora 34, and it's a 5.11 kernel. Below that, from me doing my update, is a 5.11 kernel for Fedora 32. So Fedora 32 was still receiving the security updates, but it was not going to receive major updates like the Gnome package manager or whatever. All right, here we go. Or just the Gnome desktop for that matter. It's always a good sign when the keyboard lights come on. At least that's my thoughts anyway. It's thinking pretty hard. There was one package, actually it wasn't a package, it was just what it was doing we looked at earlier, and it wasn't stuck, it was just finishing. Actually, it was running AK mods, and it was creating new AK mod, I guess you would call them drivers. Somebody who uses Linux a lot more than me, chime in, leave a comment, and I assure you my viewers would be most pleased. Okay, here we are. Let's get that password in. All right, the password is in, and the moment of truth. So it looks like it's changed me to Gnome automatically. I really don't want to take the tour right now. Really, I'm thinking that I should be able to boot into KDE, so it still should be possible. If I can remember how to do that. Power off, log out. I want to log out, log out. Kind of really pushing the Gnome thing. So we'll click my name. We're going to go down here in the corner. And, ooh, well, it does have Plasma X11. But I don't see KDE Plasma with Wayland, which is what it was supposed to be. Okay, let me get that password in again. All right, let's see if we get into KDE Plasma. Looks like it. Sounds like I'm going to have to do a straight up upgrade for me to be able to do Plasma with Wayland. I'm sure I could do it manually, but at some point I've got to do an upgrade. So what do we got here? Let's go to, we're definitely not Firefox, desktop only, and Cam Small. All right, test, test, test. A little bit loud. Test, test, test. And we will start recording. Test, test, test. So we know OBS Studio is working, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording on the iPhone. Okay, well, we are going to re-record that last video, the ending I did there. I'll play a little sample for you and let you know what happened. But essentially, since the audio server changed to Pipewire, this is what I think anyway, from Pulse Audio, the sensitivity is far, far less than it was under Pulse Audio. So right now I got the microphone set at 32. Before I had it way up here. Well, the audio, of course, was, well, I shouldn't say of course. If it was, I would have known, was way, way, way too hot in OBS. So the sound was terrible, and I have to re-record it because of that fact. So what we did do in that previous video is we ran a virtual machine, and it ran right out of the gate. We are running OBS Studio right now. We launched Kdenlive, and one thing I noticed right away was that I have an all-new menu system here. So before I would have favorites and they were just listed. Now you select favorites, which is fine. It actually, I like the organization, and it shows all my favorite apps over here, because previously when it was a list of favorite apps, about half of them would get dropped, you know, too low to actually be seen. So you wouldn't know. You might have had a favorite app in there for a long time, like KWrite, and it's simply no longer, well, it's still there as a favorite, but you just can't see it. And we ran Kdenlive. We opened up a project. It did an update, as it will if you get a newer version of Kdenlive. And we did a test play real quick. I have the audio muted, so you may be able to hear it, but I cannot hear it because it's not coming in, because I have the mic plugged in, so there's no sound out. Okay, so I don't know if you heard that or not, but anyway, that seems to be working well. And you know, Kdenlive's fairly important to me. What else do we got that's my favorites? Let's just see if GNU launches. It does. Can we open something recent? I have no idea what this is, but let's open it. Oh yeah, one of my pictures while traveling. So you remember when we started Plasma, it was called Plasma X11. I have a suspicion that that is just the name for the Plasma option in the menu. I'm not so sure Plasma isn't running under Wayland instead of X11. So I don't know how to check that. If any of my Linux gurus know a simple command I can run to check that, I would appreciate it if you dropped a comment and let me know what you think. But that's my suspicion, that we're actually running under Wayland. And if not, that's okay too. But there are many updates under Fedora 34 that you're not going to get unless you do a clean installation. ButterFS is one, and it possibly you don't get Wayland until you do a fresh install. So all in all, things look like they're working really well. To fix the problem of the updates, all I had to do was disable the TLP and TLP updates repository, and from that point everything worked great. The update went as expected, and things to this point are working well. I was a little bit surprised to see it boot into Gnome automatically, but I am going to go back and have a look at Gnome 40 because I'm definitely very curious about it, see what the changes are aside from having the menu bar at the bottom, definitely giving it a Mac OS look now. Alright, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Even if you didn't enjoy it, you know, you could do a dislike if you wanted to. Forgot what it was called there for a minute. And if you really enjoyed it or really hated it, drop a comment. Tell me how awful it was or how good it was. We can hope that, right? All right, thanks for watching. See you next time on Fast Gadgets. This video was made possible with support from viewers like you. If you find this video useful, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/FastGadgets.